happens if we run out of oil, which is what we're on the path to doing because of that huge supply loss. I mean, if you look at the SPR, this is our emergency oil. Globally, we're at the lowest since 1990. And here in the United States, the lowest levels of the Strategic Petroleum Reserve, that's the emergency oil, since 1983. That puts us in a really precarious point because, what if there's a hurricane or what if this war resumes again? That's not a level that you want. But also the commercial inventories are very, very low. In Cushing, Oklahoma, that's where the pipelines of America go through. It has a capacity of 75 million barrels of oil. It's at 20 today. And that is at its operational low, which is basically like if you hit the spigot on a coffee urn and nothing comes out, so you got to kind of tip it toward you. That's my nightmare, by the way. That's what's going on in Cushing, Oklahoma right now, which means that we either need to raise what happens if we run.
Shalom, Yashar Allah. First and foremost, I'd like to give all glory, honor, and infinite praises to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Chadash. I'd like to say double honors to beloved elders and the apostles at Great Millstone that taught me this truth. While peace and salutations to all you hopeful document out there laboring that are pushing this word in truth and in sincerity. This is your brother Amar from the GMS Boise, Idaho camp with another warning of the coming hard times that inevitably will come, whether this week, next week, in a month, in 2 months, in 3 months, whatever it is, man. But don't expect a long, prosperous, you're going to get white hairs and grow old and watch your kids grow old in this society. Ultimately, all these resources that are so readily available right now are going to be depleted. And I would just like to say, this is a Fair Use Act. This is an open and public domain. This is a CNN excerpt or a little snippet. But just going into the quote that DJ Trump mentioned about how they have only 4 weeks of reserves left. And this was the, the news doing some number comparisons, and it was just a good visual aid, to show you that these things are happening. We're not just saying these things are going to happen, and there's not any facts behind it. As you can see, just look out the window. You'll see people stressing out, man, let alone turn on the news, turn on Instagram, independent news sources. You're going to see all types of people freaking out, bugging out, getting paranoid, saying stock up, saying the end is near, because that spirit is in the air. Starting with the elders and apostles and what they have taught us, we understand that all these are just signs of the times. And I'm going to go, straight to the point because it made me, think of this scripture, because this is our job to be a watchman. This is Isaiah 58:1. Cry aloud, spare not, lift up thy voice like a trumpet, and show my people their transgression and the house of Jacob their sins. And this is a trumpet to a call of war. The enemy is coming. Get ready. And that's what a watchman's job is, to have a trumpet and to make sure that they're blowing and calling out a sure sound, and not some wishy-washy answer of what you should and shouldn't do in those times. First and foremost, have faith in Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai. And secondly, do not take the MOT to the B, and pray that Yahweh Bashim Yahweh Shai gives you the spirit to endure and have mercy on you in those days. Because there's nothing that you can do as carnal acts in this flesh that puts you above being righteous through your own works. And that's why these other groups thinking they can do church blitzes to get an audience are even they're getting called out, because now laws have changed that if you mess with certain churches, you can get charged with a federal hate crime. So your 501c3 charter can be quickly, expunged IUIC. There's the viral video of them acting a fool again with some 2/3 Nicolaits in front of the churches, man. But ultimately, to stay on topic of what's going on, as they're busy trying to get views, we're telling you what's going to happen, what's coming very quickly. And the first thing that I wanted to go to is actually 2nd Ezra 6:22. This is and suddenly goes without warning, unexpectedly, in an instant. When you go into the word suddenly, this is 2nd Ezra 6:22 again, Salakia. And suddenly shall the sown places appear unsown, the full storehouses shall suddenly be found empty. in these storehouses and these grocery stores and the sown places, going into the fields where these foods are produced, to the grocery stores, to the warehouse distribution centers that hold 10 times the amount of food that your regular grocery stores have, because usually grocery stores are run by a chain operation, so they have different bigger stores that hold even more supplies that get distributed through the different stores around the state. So even those places are going to run out and going into the reserves of this nation. And we know that oil and gas and petroleum, pretty much runs everything, which we know that Esau is not going to completely run out because he still needs his infrastructure up and running, his military, so it's going to be limited to the people, your civilians, your average everyday, like they called them in 2020, unessential workers. This is 2 Ezra 6 and 23. This the Spirit and the trumpet shall give a sound, which when every man heareth, they shall be suddenly afraid. And you should be afraid of this word and what the prophets are telling you, starting with the elders and apostles of Great Millstone. Because as you can see, things are about to get rough for everybody, So I'm going to go right into Isaiah 19, and I'm going to read it because this will lead into it. This is 2 Ezra 6 and 24, the beginning part. At that time shall friends fight one against another like enemies. Desperate times call for desperate measures. Neighbors, everybody's going to be at very tense, especially for the uncertainties of the future and their good old America being shaken. Continuing, and the earth shall stand in fear with those that dwell therein. The springs of the fountain shall stand still, and in 3 hours they shall not run. So ultimately resources, as well as this word, because this word is also described as waters. You're not going to be able to get that water that you can get, like Yahweh Shai was talking to the woman at the well, that you will never thirst again. You get this water, you will never thirst again. So that's why if you have this truth and you have the living waters, that's what's going to give you ultimately mercy, but that's what's going to give you stability of mind, pursuing to Isaiah 33 and 6, which we bring out so much at camp, because it is a scripture that you need to have ingrained in your head, because that's how bad it's going to get. These people going at each other's throats. This is Isaiah 19 and 15. Neither shall there be any work for Egypt, which the head or the tail, branch or rush may do. Top to bottom, to the CEO, to the janitor, everything's going to be shut down. Verse 16, in that day shall Egypt be like unto women, and it shall be afraid and fear because of the shaking of the hand of the Lord Yahweh of hosts, which he shaketh over it. And that's how this place is getting prepared. You see these people, like they say in the world, oh man, you got me shaking in my boots. They say it as like a funny thing now, but it's showing you that you're like shivering in fear. So these people seeing these news articles and these different forecasts and the economics, they're bugging out, but call Allah Yahweh Bashem Yahshai, we have the stability of times, in the strength of salvation, and I'm just going to go to it because I've quoted it too many times. But again, this is Isaiah 33 and 6. And wisdom and knowledge shall be the stability of thy times, and strength of salvation. The fear of the Lord Yahweh is his treasure. So make sure that, Akim, Akwath, believers, listeners, somebody who's just coming across this video the first time, put the word of Yahweh Bashem Yahshai, as number one in your life. This is the principal thing. This is your treasure. This is what you would give everything you have in this world for. And that's how much you have to want this truth. And that's how big a faith you have to have for how much this devil's going to throw at you. Guillotines, charagmas, robot dogs, heartbeat sensors, shutting you off from getting your license, exiting you out of society so that you can't function, you can't get a paycheck. See how easy it is to say I'm a believer in that day, but that's called the hour of temptation. And if you endure, you're going to be, crowned, and ultimately given glory, because Yahweh Bashem Yahshai is going to save you in the first resurrection. You want to be a part of that first resurrection, and not come back saying goo goo gaga later on in the kingdom, which is still a blessing. But hey, man, that first dominion is going to be something else, so to not to get too much off topic, but as you can see, things are getting more tense. And this is just another sign of the times. So Lord willing, that this lesson was edifying unto the elect, the believers. Till next time, I'd like to give all glory, honor, and infinite praises to Yahweh, Bahashim, Yahweh Shai, Bahashim, Rakach Kodash, and double honors to the beloved elders and the apostles of Great Millstone that taught me this truth. While peace and salutations to all you hopeful elect Akim out there laboring, that are pushing this word in truth and in sincerity. Till next time, Lord willing, Shalom.